Academy. We have all this stuff that we can learn from. I mean, and so many people underestimate how that completely renders the whole establishment of so-called education completely obsolete.
Yep. Completely. Yeah. I mean, you better believe that, I've recently have two twin boys, and, I've got like 30 books on education, alternative education, parenting, things like this. But, just knowing what I know already right now, what can be accessed through the internet, what type of different educational, modes. I mean, it's hard for me to see myself putting my kids back into the traditional public school system when so much more could be accessed for them at their own rate and pace, whether it's slower or faster, just through online tools.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the gateways are so wide now for this sort of thing. I mean, it's one of the things that I say, in discussions about the educational system where, people are expressing, a disenfranchised attitude towards the schooling system. And I try to explain to them, why are you surprised? It's not set up to really enrich and encourage knowledge. It's, the educational system as we know it right now, it was created at the same time as the Industrial Revolution. Its functional, operation is more or less just like a factory, really. It's like a cookie cutter, factory of just cranking out all these economic slaves, and where kids are just sat in these pretty little rows like drones, forced to monotonously memorize stuff and periodically regurgitate it out in the form of exams. No wonder kids hate school. It's boring.
Oh God, yes. And I was one of those kids, man. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's just so amazing how, what is really possible now. And so many people just don't really recognize what is actually possible.
There is a little hope, I can tell you. Here in Texas, they're doing a thing called flipping the class, whereas you do your homework in class, and then in the evenings, they have you watch lectures such as Khan Academy.
Really? Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big step, I think.
Yeah. Well, because I mean, there was one thing that that I said on one of my friend's Facebook statuses the other day. So, something about he was basically, he made a status out of a short conversation between a little girl and her mother, and the little girl was asking why the government are spying on us, and and it was really interesting, and I think I made a comment to the effect of that, children are so much better at realizing, what the world can be and should be than we are, because they haven't been, as indoctrinated as us to blindly accept the system we have right now. I mean, we systematically kick, beat, and tear their joy of life out of them, and brainwash them to think this is just the way it is, And I finished it with a little a link to a Neil deGrasse Tyson clip,
Nice.
where he says that we spend the first year of our children's lives teaching them how to walk and talk, and the rest of their lives telling them to shut up and sit down.
Oh my God, yes. I remember thinking to myself, when I was probably about 16 or 17, I remember thinking to myself, wow, man, why am I not creative at all? It sucks that I'm not one of these people that was just born creative. And later on in life, when I had kind of like a big awakening, when I really started to embrace the talents and interests that I had when I was a child, but then push them aside for the ego-driven motivations to be accepted by the herd. It wasn't until after that I realized, oh my God, creativity is within everyone. This is something that's either nurtured or not, though. And generally, I found that when I went back and started thinking about junior high and high school is where my creativity got pushed to the back seat and kind of became a muscle that didn't get used anymore. And so it just kind of petrified. Is that the word I'm looking for?
Well, atrophy.
Well, just like it just became inactive to a point where it was the idea of activating it again was kind of a daunting task. And I think this comes a lot through the way our public schools are set up.
Yeah. I think the word you're looking for is atrophy, because
Atrophy.
Really it was,
That's what I was looking for. Atrophy.
Yeah, because really that's how. I mean, there was a brilliant TED talk that Sir Ken Robinson, I think his name is.
That's it, Sir Ken Robinson. Yeah.
Yeah, how I think it was How Schools Kill Creativity, I think it's called.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's absolutely. I mean, just that video in of itself. If I don't know how that kind of logic can be debunked, really, because it's just pure common sense. The fact that, in order for us to actually grow and evolve into fully fledged, compassionate, caring and creative human beings, we need to have those parallel attributes encouraged in us and to be nurtured and to be, led in a constructive direction. But, I don't know. I mean, would you say that the current economic system cares about that?
Not at all. Oh my gosh. No, what they want is robotic automatons to follow orders.
Yep. Yeah. That's basically it, Yeah. And it's just so sad,
So sad. I feel really, I'm better now, but it used to be kind of tough and really, really frustrating, and depressing for me at times to see all these people who, how quickly, what I'm so grateful for the Venus Project and the Zeitgeist movement is that, I used to call people sheeple and have, feelings toward them for not caring and come on, wake up, care more. And now I just understand is good Lord, they are just a product of this system and they never had a chance.
No.
They never had a chance. And so they are so far removed from, thinking about anybody else other than them and their own family that what can I really expect? Can I really, I need to have some realistic expectations here with the masses. And this is all due to the system that we've been brought up in that absolutely just works to create pegs in holes and just get everybody slotted into their job and don't question it and just move right along.
Yeah, one of the things that I have noticed about you is that you have this wonderful optimism, and just even watching the shows that you've done, it does exude a huge positivity to an audience, and it actually makes you much more amenable to listen to, because obviously you're not going to listen to someone who's like sat in a corner and miserable and like bitching about stuff. So so with that in mind, how would you say that you've been able to maintain that level of optimism given the kind of negativity that we've just discussed, and how that frustration can come about? Because obviously when the when the awakening process does happen in the human mind, it is, rejected against initially, unless, unless, you're conditioned to actually be much more awake anyway. But, but how would you say you've managed to properly negotiate the way from, that sort of like initial anger, phase? Because it was definitely anger for me, to the kind of optimism that you have now.
Yeah, to answer that, I would say trends. I had to relax it. Otherwise I was too much of my happiness. At some point along the way, I learned that if I am expecting radical change to happen quickly, I'm gonna have an uphill battle with my life. If I hinge my happiness upon radical change happening quickly, then I'm not going to be a very happy person. And so I now just take a long-term approach towards seeing change, and I look at the trends that are happening, and I understand that, or at least I believe that there is an inevitability that's going to be taking place at some point in the future with just the technological abundance that's going to be emerging through mechanized automation, essentially. And I think so. That's it right there. I'm just kind of not really buying my time, but I'm going to do my thing here at this property that we picked up and videotape it, show it off. I may get back into doing television again. I have a knack for it.
Yeah, you definitely do.
And at the moment, though, I'm just focused on some other things, and that's where my passion is. I'm pretty good about following my interests, following my joys, and taking my cues from there. And that is what I would say keeps me a happy, fulfilled person.
That's fantastic. Well, I'm afraid this is all the time we have for this particular podcast, Tyson. I'd like to thank you for coming on. Is there any other links or information that you'd want to just shoot out? So if anyone wants to find out more about the stuff that you've done or the stuff that you're doing?
Well, you can always, you can check out Zeitgeist Live TV. That's our website that hasn't been updated very recently, but that's where you could find our episodes from the TV show. You can always add me on Facebook, Tyson Eberly, and that's good right there.
Cool, fantastic. Well, thank you again for coming on, Tyson. As for next time, I'm going to be interviewing Jen Wilding, so I'm very much looking forward to that. Just another announcement for the sponsors. This podcast has been brought to you by cultcabin.com. So if you want to get 10% off on a pre-order of a bust of the evil one, then go to www.cultcabin.com/TZM and enter in the code name AdamTZM. You'll be able to get 10% off there. Fantastic site, because I'll tell you what, I'm going to have to go back down to the basement in a second and get some more goat's blood, because I'm starting to get thirsty, man. I don't know about you. But anyway, thanks very much for coming on, Tyson, and thank you everyone for listening. So it's a goodbye from me, and say goodbye, Tyson.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you so much, Adam, for having me on. I had a great time.